Career Seeker Show live on WPPM 106.5 Philadelphia. Man, we are moving today. This is what we do. Got the Career Seekers team in the building. Tiffany, Southerland, Alberta, Bertolino, Will Martin.
Welcome back.
Well, we had a great conversation with Mr. Gene Luma. If you get a chance, please go out there to that job fair tomorrow. That's going to be a good look. We'll post some information about that on the @US Career Seekers Twitter feed. Hopefully my co-host will post that information as well. And we'll also put that information on the East Coast Executive Facebook fan page just to support my man Gene. They're looking for some great people. You guys are great people, so it's a match made. All right? Let's get it moving. We are happy to have another guest on the show today. So it is with my pleasure that I introduce you to, I was just telling her, I keep messing up her last name, Miss Susan Thomas. Susan is the Industry Partnership Director for 1199C Training and Upgrading Fund. Friends of the family indeed. Susan, thank you so very much for coming out today.
Well, thank you. It's my pleasure to be here.
We're really excited to have you. Let me introduce you real quick. Tiffany Southerland. We call Tiffany our career coach here at the Career Seeker Show. Alberta Bertolino, super recruiter and recruitment coach at the Career Seeker Show. And Mr. Luma said he's going to hang out with us for a little while and just kind of, I guess, sharing the HR experience with us.
Excellent.
You know, I was looking at your background on your LinkedIn profile. Kudos to you. You have a great history and background supporting people. I noticed that. The role that you're in now, I guess I'm not familiar with the role, but I'm familiar with the organization. So thank you for all that you do there. But I really would appreciate it if you could share some information with our listeners. Tell them about 1199C and the Training and Upgrading Fund. Who are they?
Okay, well, 1199C is the local healthcare workers union. And Henry Nicholas is our president and was instrumental in starting the local back in the late 60s, early 70s.
AKA Mr. Nick.
Mr. Nicholas. And he is still the president with as much energy as ever.
Wow.
The deal is that back in the late 60s, early 70s, frontline healthcare workers did not make that much money, did not have time off and other benefits. And meanwhile, they worked very, very hard. You know, they're part of a critical team. So the deal was the union came in and they were able to be successful in organizing, in those days, mainly hospitals to start and then long-term care, with the idea that we would raise the wage, increase the benefits, the working conditions for these workers. At the same time, our president was very visionary and he said, well, okay, you know, this is all good stuff for today, but what are you going to do for your future? So he created the training fund. And what's really neat about the training fund, from day one, it was a two-part business. Not only do we help our union members who work for the member organizations, we serve the entire community. Half our business, which is the side that I'm on, is grant funded. So that it's not just the employers paying in so that their workers can get phenomenal education benefits. It's also us being able to provide programs to the community. The training fund has grown over the years, and we provide a very comprehensive set of services, and we believe that you start at the beginning and you work your way up. So we have a very strong adult education, literacy program. We have GED to healthcare, which often is GED to college. With the idea that, you know, you don't put people into occupational training if they have skills deficits, if they don't have a high school equivalency. Because we want to prepare people to get the job and keep the job and do well and feel good about themselves. We also have English as a second language and civics, so that we serve a lot of, new to America type people, and many of them move on to healthcare careers.
So who's eligible to participate in this program?
Well, it really, like I said, we serve the whole community.
Okay.
But each program, depending on the nature of the program, has its own entrance requirements. Okay. So, for instance, we have a private licensed school, which just recently got a wonderful accreditation. And that's not announced officially yet.
Thank you for sharing that.
A career seeker show.
That's right.
Yeah, right.
Exclusive.
That's it. Well, enough
We're supposed to
people,
drop a bomb right now. Yeah.
We had to know, right? Yeah, something's in here.
enough people know it's coming that I didn't feel I was violating a confidence. But the school's been around since 1999, and basically it is a practical nursing program designed for the working person, because we have some of our own union members who maybe work as CNAs and want to move up, and then we have community people. And the deal is that, you know, there are entrance requirements.
Sure.
You have to have a high school diploma, and you have to get a certain grade on the T's, which is an entrance exam kind of thing, and you have to pass an interview. And then once you're in school, there are requirements for staying in school in terms of a grade average, attendance, behavior, all the above. If it's nurse aide, we're looking at a TABE score, okay, which TABE has got a reading and a math component, 7th grade. You know, that's a lower situation. Some of the others, I do a electronic health record, we look at TABE 9. Then we have the grant-funded programs where the funder requires certain things. Like, I'm involved in 2 large, actually 1 at this point, the 1 finished, federal H-1B return to work grants. So the idea is to put people in jobs in health care in certain designated occupations that we selected. People who are either unemployed or underemployed for a long period. And that's a different kind of requirement,
Sure.
you know?
Yeah.
So it really varies on the program. We do programs that are for youth. We have a lot of nurse aide cohorts, one through the School District of Philadelphia, another one through Philadelphia Youth Network. And very often, they will have definitions. Like some people define youth as 18 to 24, some say 18 to 29. So you have to look at each project
29,
to see.
nice. Right? To be still that close to you.
Yeah, well, I think some of the 29 is, if you read the literature on the millennials and the failure to launch, and, you know, people taking longer to
We're a complicated bunch.
graduate from school, whatever, you know, it's older ages kind of thing.
Absolutely.
So that's why I say it really depends on the program. We're also doing a lot with apprenticeship.
Okay.
We have 12 approved apprenticeships, and apprenticeship is a nationally recognized federal program that has a certification, and it's got on-the-job learning, plus it has related classroom instruction. You typically think of apprenticeship as like building and construction, the trades, you know, plumbers, electricians. It's now starting to catch on in healthcare, and we feel it's a natural fit because the healthcare jobs at a higher level, doctors and nurses, RNs, have always had residencies,
Yes, exactly.
preceptorships. So why not do the same thing for the CNAs, the home health aides, people like that, behavioral health specialists, give them the opportunity.
Right.
And then we have pre-apprenticeship. We just finished early summer our first cohort of behavioral health pre-apprenticeship, where we took relatively young people and you know, moved them into that field. So they were in class full-time with us, learning about the field, brushing up on a lot of the skills, learning about the workplace, going out and visiting workplaces, with the idea that we then place them with some of the employers. And now they're in the work-based learning, and they're doing a program 1 day a week, and I think an evening a week, that enables them to get some college credits to an associate's degree. Yeah. So, and that's another thing. We're very big on career paths.
Sure. That's a good thing. So you were sharing with me during our brief conversation that you also have opportunities, or have a desire at least, to have some employers partner up with you guys, so you can kind of direct, I guess, some of the graduates into opportunities.
Everything has to be employer driven.
Yes.
And I manage this Greater Philadelphia Healthcare Partnership, which has been around since 2005. It's an industry partnership of healthcare employers, workforce development, you know, the Philadelphia Workforce Development Board, academic institutions that have related programs, And the whole idea is the employers tell us what the needs are.
Sure.
Because if we are training people, we want to train them to be able to get jobs.
Right.
Okay? Same thing if it's incumbent workers. The idea of the IP, when it started, it's a Pennsylvania-based program initially. There were serious shortages, things are changing. Healthcare is always changing. So even if you're working, you have to be able to keep up.
Excellent. And you were telling me there are some benefits to being an employment partner as well.
Yes, if people join our federal grant, it provides very substantial wage reimbursement. So that if you hire, for instance, an RN, you can get up to $16,000 to help offset the costs of training somebody who's not experienced.
Wow.
And you know, there are similar numbers. Obviously, they're at different pay levels depending on the job, but we have medical office positions, community health workers, medical coders, data analytics people, RNs and LPNs. And the data analytics goes really high because some of those folks are, you know, worth a lot
Absolutely,
of money.
yeah, in every industry, yeah.
That's right. And what's nice about this project, it's not a lot of work, okay? And I can speak from the employer perspective because the first zillion years that I worked, I was in industry, in HR and training, and you know, people would come to me with programs, and if they had too much administrative or paperwork, I'd say, listen, it's not worth all the money. I don't have a big staff to do all this or have the time, and this is like, you know, a 3-page contract, not a big deal. Very, very simple, with the idea that we will help you structure the on-the-job learning, which is something that a good employer does anyway. You can be hiring an experienced person. You can't just bring them in and say, okay,
Get to it.
here's your desk.
That's right.
You know, you got
still
to
have to onboard them.
on board, exactly, that's right.
Yeah.
So we're paying you to do what you should do anyway, and not only that, typically, all of the HR literature will tell you that if you make investments in people,
You will return.
you will get the return of loyalty, less turnover, people feeling less disenchanted, you know, they'll want to stay with you.
Right.
You know, what happens if you invest in your people and they leave? And it's like, what happens if you don't and they stay? You know, like,
Right.
So
Well, that's the
Yeah.
other thing, you
Point.
don't want people to just take up space.
exactly.
Exactly.
You know, I remember once hearing stories in a very big company that had a lot of perks, and people were hanging in because of the pension plan,
Yes.
because they had a nice gym. They didn't care about their jobs.
Sure.
Well, that's not a good place to be.
Right. And you know that it comes into place now a lot. You know, I'm out here and we speak to companies who tell me that 35% of their employees are eligible for retirement at some companies, some really large companies, and it presents a challenge for them.
Well,
Especially in the utilities.
Yeah,
industry.
right, exactly.
It's happening right
Yeah, well, they tend to have long service people who've been there a while.
Exactly.
now. Yeah.
But every employer, healthcare included, the baby boom is aging.
Yes.
And this could create an issue. In fact, one of the large hospital systems who works with me, you know, I said to them, my God, you're hiring all these people. Every time I turn around, there's another cohort of nurses. They said, we're preparing for the, they call it the silver tsunami.
Silver tsunami. I like it. Okay.
Wow.
Gray-haired people are gonna, you know,
When they're gonna retire.
are gonna be retiring.
Yeah.
I've done some nurse recruiting in the past, and there's some challenges there that aren't just unique to nursing, by the way, but definitely some challenges. I'm looking at this Pathways in Nursing program that you guys have. Could you speak to me a little more about that?
Yeah, well, basically, our whole premise is career paths. So whether you're talking about our nursing, our behavioral health, health information, allied health, childcare, we like to show people that it's not just a job, but you have options to move up. And there's also this whole thing of what we call stackable credentials. You know, like I might sit here, I just finished high school. I really am scared to death to start going to like a 4-year college. You know, maybe I'm afraid of what it costs, or I'm not, or I have to go to work and I don't want to do all that at night. I'm like, oh my God. Or I'm 45 years old and I've been out of school for a long time. and I'm a little scared of the going back. So what we say is, look, start at a lower level, get a CNA, okay, and then maybe do an LPN, and if you find, right, up and up and up, and what we try to do is have stackable, meaning that what you do at level 1 or 2 can be articulated to level 3 or 4. Like our behavioral health program, that's 21 credits at Philadelphia University, now Jefferson. And if people take just 1 or 2 more courses, they get a collegiate certificate for all that.
Oh, wow.
And then all of those things, it's 24 credits, that flows into an associate's degree, and then that flows into a bachelor's, and blah, blah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so, it's that stackability, it's do it in steps,
Right.
which, to me is a life lesson for anything.
Yeah.
Yes.
I walk in after I've been away for a week and the house is a mess. I could faint, but then I said, well, let's be realistic, one task at a
Start
time.
one thing at a time,
Yeah.
absolutely. Baby steps.
Exactly. Yeah.
So how do people come into contact? If you're a member of the community, other than now like listening to the show and people being connected in that way, how do people come in to find out about the services that you have? Is it through someone that they know is a member of the union and they refer them to the services, or do you have like community events or anything like that?
Well, there's several different paths. First of all, yes, you have members who refer people, and we try to keep in touch. Like, we'll go on site with literature and try to remind the members that, hey, you've got this great benefit, think about it. And then they tell each other. Like when we first put an electronic health record, a lot of the unit clerks from the big hospitals were starting to take the course, and they loved it.
Oh, good.
And then they would go back to work and tell their friends.
You should do this too.
Correct.
That's awesome.
Yeah. We also have good relationships with schools. So when people are coming out of programs, the programs can say, hey, go over to 1199, they've got this, they've got that, blah, blah, blah. Job fairs, community events, we direct people to our website. We're very actively involved, I know you guys because of Technology Learning Collab, but then, I'm involved in a million other things. So it's a matter of getting the word out, spreading the word. The training fund hosts a lot of things.
You guys had an event today, am I correct? Was that today? Did you have a career event today?
We had a career fair today.
Yes.
We had 11 employers who I walked around and talked to every one of them. It was good for my grant, but good for the students as well. And the idea was that, mainly long-term care and home care who are looking for LPNs, RNs, nurse aides, home health aides could talk to our graduates. So that happens. We have community partners. Like, for instance, when I talked about ESL, we're very friendly with HIAS and the Nationality Services Center and the Welcoming Center. So, those people could come and take ESL, and then they're in our environment and they learn about occupational,
I love that.
Sounds like you should talk to our former guest, because maybe you need school nurses.
Haven't gotten there yet, but we will.
Wow.
Eventually,
go.
eventually, another partnership.
Yeah.
The behavioral health is close though.
Okay.
The family advocate position, so that may be close.
Yeah, well, if they're interested in, they could either fall under the community health worker part of my grant, because typically there's some very similar things where you're coaching somebody through recovery.
Right.
It's just that it's more mental, emotional than it is physical. Okay, so there's that, but also if there's an interest in apprenticeship positions for direct support professionals. The only people we can't work with in my grant would be direct government employees. So like City of Philadelphia, I can't put somebody in their health department, but I can work with them if they're contracting services to another employer. Like they use a nursing home, they contract. The employees are on the payroll of the nursing home.
Right, not the
Because
city.
then they
Okay.
can do the grant. Yeah. But you can't match government money with a government.
There you go.
Yes.
No double dipping.
And we have we have a good website.
I was going to say, could you provide our listeners with the URL to the website?
It's www.1199c as in cat training.org.
Excellent.
Easy enough.
And within that, there's a link to the Greater Philadelphia Healthcare Partnership.
Okay.
Also, the Greater Philadelphia Healthcare Partnership, I keep our activities up to date on Facebook. So if you just go
great.
to your search on Facebook, you want to like us or friend us or whatever, we're happy to have you join us. Correct.
Susan is a one-person gang, I see.
You really are. Oh my gosh.
Doing everything.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's the training fund for you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We commend you and thank you for all that you do for the residents of Philadelphia. You know, I've seen the success stories that have came through your programs, and it's just unbelievable. I went to, I believe it was a graduation at the Kimmel Center.
Yes, that's one of our big days.
Wow.
Yeah.
It was such an incredible, I mean, and what kind of hit me to my heart with that, I saw mothers and daughters and mothers and
Yes.
sons
Yeah.
graduating
Oh, at the
from
same
programming
time?
at the same
Oh,
time.
Yeah, we have some
That's
interesting
awesome.
family
Yes.
stories, multi-generational.
Yes.
We also have, there's a picture of a couple where it was a husband and wife,
Yes.
Wow.
both, you know, getting their credentials and
Yeah.
things. Yeah,
Excellent
it's very
event.
exciting.
Yeah, great energy in the
definitely.
building.
Yeah.
So let our listeners know how to get in contact with you.
Okay, well, the easiest way to get in touch with me is my email, which is sthomas, sthomas, at 1199ctraining.org.
We really appreciate you coming out today. Thank you so very much for coming out and sharing this information. I was looking at the pamphlet, and this is
There's
a ton
so much
of
stuff in
information.
there.
Yeah, so
much great
I
resources.
encourage everybody to visit that 1199ctraining.org website to get information, and also we'll share information on the Career Seekers feeds as well on our social media feeds regarding 1199C. Once again, friends of the family. So I just really appreciate all that you guys
Wonderful.
do.
Yeah, if there are people out there who are in the health field looking for jobs, who at some point lost a job or were underemployed, let me know because I do need candidates.
Okay,
Yeah, for
excellent.
my
Now you
grant.
have an avenue where to go.
Yeah, exactly.
Incredible, incredible.
Okay.
No, but I want to speak to some of my nieces actually about that opportunity.
Okay.
But it's my understanding that today is International Girls Day.
I know
Yeah,
it is.
yes.
I did.
I'm
But it's
surprised.
also, I have to say, National Coming Out Day
Okay.
for the LGBTQ community. I'll be going to a networking event afterwards. There's a huge conference in town for that. I don't want to hijack the International
No,
Girls,
it's all right.
but there's a conference in town called Out
Are
and
we
Equal.
still on air? I don't know.
We are. Called Out and Equal for employers and people in that community looking for positions. But so the International Girls Day, yes.
Yes, exceptional. It's International Girls Day again. I said, you know what? Let me try to do this. Maybe I'm trying to do this. I have some nieces.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them are older. They're not girls anymore. They're ladies. But let me just shout
We're all
out.
girls at heart, right?
Yeah, I guess so. I guess so. But Tiara, Aaron, Kimara, Ava, Zori, Danny, Carly, Erica, Taylor, Naya, Amia, Simone, Nia, and Amani. It's International Girls Day, man. Do your thing today. I really love all of you, so I appreciate it. To all the little ladies out here.
Hi, nieces.
Yes, I tried. I know I missed somebody, but
Well,
The love is there.
I love
Yeah.
you.
The love is there.
I love you.
So that was kind of if we had some downtime, and maybe we do for a couple of minutes. Did you read the story that the Boy Scouts are going to start having girls allowed in some of their programming? That's
So I
And so
thought
wanted-
I had heard about that before. I thought, well, maybe I missed the boat on that. Okay.
yeah.
Okay, so-
I was just reading,
Can I step
read
out?
it
Yeah, I can sit here.
quickly today. I don't know if I like that. I don't know.
What's
That's
what's the
interesting.
reasoning
That's interesting
behind
coming
it?
From you. I would
It is,
expect you
I
to be
know.
a big proponent of that.
Right, but-
What's the impetus for that?
Because some of the Girl Scout program, you can't become an Eagle Scout, or you can't become. They have those hierarchy that.
and Girl Scouts don't have similar
no,
progressions?
So they should.
So the solution sounds like the Girl Scouts creating a model that
They should, right?
is
Yeah. So we need to look more into this. However, Kenneth, so right, you're absolutely right. You'd think I'd be all gung ho for it.
Yeah, I would think you would be a
The
proponent.
reason why is because all of the research around women, and especially in technology, math, and science, by the time you're 5, 6 years old, you're competing with boys and you don't raise your hand, you don't speak up, you don't.
Yeah, but I don't
Okay.
know that that allowing girls in Boy Scouts is the solution to that.
Right.
I think that's what I'm gonna say.
I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, like
Stay,
but no. So to the
improve women.
right. So I
Yeah.
know to your point,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
the idea that like letting girls join the boy programs does not solve the issue of girls being socialized to have these issues. That's not what the answer
you put it
is.
so much better than I did.
Like it's just not. I'm
Yeah.
just like.
Yeah.
My mind is like
Yeah.
spinning a little bit right now.
Yeah,
Just
so
like,
maybe we'll look more into that.
yeah, I just pulled it up on a very famous news website that has been known to have some errors, so I have to make sure I read this.
Oh,
It's,
right.
I won't call it out by name, but
There you go. Okay.
we can assume.
Oh boy.
Yeah, but
Interesting stuff.
very interesting.
Well, Cheryl Sandberg just came out with something about, she's the one that wrote Leaning In.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Facebook.
So we did it again. It's the Career Seeker Show. We do it every Wednesday from 4 to 5 here on WPPM LP Philadelphia. I'd like to thank our guest today, Mr. Jane Luma, Miss Susan Thomas. Jane Luma from Accelero Learning.
Is that right?
Yeah, there we go.
Nothing else.
All right, yeah.
Susan Thomas from 1199C Training and Upgrading Fund. On behalf of the Career Seekers team, Alberta Bertolino, Tiffany Southerland, Will Martin, and myself, Kenneth L. Johnson, we'd like to thank you, everybody listening in Philly on 106.5, everybody listening to the live stream at phillycam.org, everybody tuned in on the East Coast Executive Facebook fan page. We appreciate you guys so much. Thank you so very much. Next week, we will be back Wednesday, 4 o'clock. Jody Brockington
Can't
in the
believe that
building.
came that
Health
fast.
and wellness. Yeah, we're
For her
back
show
doing
again.
it. Jody Brockington next week, the 25th. Torrin Ellis. We get it done out here. It's the
Yeah.
Career Seekers team. Let's get it done. If you did not register for Miss Sutherland's event, check the check her social media feeds. The information is there.
Absolutely, or you can go on Eventbrite and search for the memo, or search for Tiffany Southerland, and it'll come up.
Yes. All right. We appreciate you. Thank you so very much, Philly.
Have a great week.
Later.
Yo, Gee, is it a wrap?
It's a wrap, Gould.
Let's do it.